Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I'm not really into paranormal stuff, but this has been stuck in my head since it happened. Does anyone have any ideas on what could have happened? October 2022. Bought a 1994 Honda Civic earlier in the year. Radio in it is stock, but broken. PIC related, not mine, but the same model. Most buttons are stuck. Volume knob does nothing. Stuck on with broken display. On top of that, the external antenna has been removed, and the antenna cable isn't connected to the radio. Never makes any noise. Not even that hum you get with audio equipment. Driving around with Native American friend. It's late, around 2 or 3 a.m. Stop at the gas station before driving him home. Driving through Native American reservation, it's about a 30-minute drive to his house. Driving through back roads, completely dark and quiet. Houses every once in a while, most of them completely dark. No other cars on the road. Only noise is conversation and car sounds. Conversation dies down for a moment. Start hearing what sounds like very quiet talking. Over the course of a couple minutes, the voice gets louder. Male voice, extremely muffled with some static. Can't make out anything being said. Continues on for a few minutes. Drive in silence for a few more minutes. Look at my friend. So did you hear that? Yeah, let's get out of here. Speed up and drive him home in silence. I went home and looked if there were any events around the area in case we were hearing some PA in the distance. But there was nothing near where we were. Does anyone have any idea what this could have been? I asked him about it a few weeks after it happened, and he said he's heard stories about something like that happening on the reservation before, but that's the only time he's ever experienced it. I don't think I'm schizo if we both heard it, but I have no idea what it could have been.
Rational Brain says that perhaps your car's radio, since it's always on, was somehow able to actually pick up a radio signal being used for something because of a lack of any sort of interference and the wide-open nature of some reservations. Perhaps the signal was the exact, typically unused one your car radio was stuck on, and as you drove through it, just so happened to pick it up for a brief moment, even without an antenna. Or it could have been some sort of echo of the past or momentary crossover with something beyond our world. Perhaps whispers from the afterlife of those who were observing your journey from close by. It's said that time is actually a form of energy in itself. Kozyrev suggested that memories from every moment that has, is, or will exist can exist within this energy, and it also seems to have some sort of relationship with electromagnetism. Maybe you inadvertently connected to it in some way. Although, as far as I know, that's typically only plausible when space-time itself is unstable in some way. Either way, I have no idea, man. Was still fun to read. Did you make out anything being said?
I considered that it was just picking things up too. But driving through the same roads and similar rural roads at all times of day and weather has never picked up anything again, unless somehow my friends and I were able to talk over it and didn't notice. I should have also mentioned that the voice went on over a decent distance, maybe a mile, so I don't think it could have come from anywhere other than inside the car. It slowly got louder, then quickly faded back to silence. Like I mentioned, I'm not really into paranormal things, and I'm a pretty big skeptic on pretty much anything related to it. But that moment really stuck with me, especially after hearing all the native tales being told it's happened to other people around the reservation growing up around there. Do you have anything you would recommend to read from Kozyrev? I'm not familiar with him at all. I wasn't able to make out anything, and my friend said he wasn't able to either when we talked about it again. It sounded like a man with a monotone, mumbling baritone voice. Almost certain it was English, even though I couldn't make anything out. Almost like hearing someone talking far away where you can recognize the sounds but not understand the words.
Have you ever had something really weird happen involving anything with radio waves? Ham radio, walkie-talkies, software-defined radio, anything involving these age-old communication methods is kind of fascinating to me. I also ask because I have a story. Me, 2014. In high school. Keep a walkie-talkie on my desk to fidget with. Don't know where the other one is. Always assumed it was just a bum walkie-talkie laying around. Come home from school one day. Him fidgeting with the talkie all absent-minded like. Accidentally turn it on. Almost immediately I hear it pinging constantly. It's pinging over and over, like someone's trying to say something but can't hold the button long enough. I decided to pull out my phone in hopes I record something cool. Actually record something terrifying. I've still yet to uncover what this was. I'm hoping it's audio from a movie or something and someone was just screwing around with anyone within earshot, but if it's actually real, it's kind of messed up cause these weren't like impressive walkie-talkies. The range couldn't have been huge and the voices come through pretty clear, so I assume it had to be close. I've posted about this online a couple times before and someone suggested I may have tapped into a police line or something. Kind of a crap ending since nothing happened after this. I tried responding but never got an answer. I was properly scared for the rest of the day though. Anybody else got any weird run-ins like this?
Not really sure where else to post this, so I guess I'll go here. Be a year ago, start of school, and live in the basement cause it's hella spacious. Townhouse next to me has people move all the time. Mostly college-aged kids who stay for a semester then move. This time a family moves in. Looks like they might stay, great people, nothing really weird about them. Everything's normal for a few weeks. Then I start hearing this radio, or TV, or something, playing late at night, too low for me to hear what's being said, but I can tell it's the same person every time. He speaks in this kind of rhythmic news anchor-like way. Just keeps going on nonstop for hours, never stops, occasionally takes a break, as if an image was being shown or something. Never plays during the day, starts when I lay my head down and is gone when I wake up. If I don't fall asleep it cuts out around 4 or 5. Never really thought much of it at the time. Fast forward to last week. It's been going on all year, starting to get on my nerves. Come home after a long night. A guy got shot a few hundred feet from me. Go to bed, radio starts playing, like always, can almost hear what's being said, like always. All of a sudden there's a second, deeper voice. I've been listening to this the whole year. This has never happened, already weird. All normal for about 30 minutes, then the main voice screams. Like, got stabbed screams, it's freaky. Radio cuts out, then I hear this scratching at my neighbor's basement door, head level. Gets louder and louder until I get out of bed, then it fades away. It's been 5 days now and I haven't heard the radio at all. Is this something or am I just being paranoid?
I own a radio. It is an old one and I'm pretty sure it used to belong to my mother. It displays time with bright red text and can play music, though I do not use it for that. I mainly use it for some light to keep me company during nighttime, and also to simply be able to see what time it is. It has 3 modes, buzzer off and on. I have it on off so it does not play any music. At around 1 a.m. last night I was writing in my diary. I needed a piss so I went to do so, and also filled my drink bottle at the same time. I returned to my room and continued with writing in my diary for the day. I heard noise. Not a noise, but noise. Fuzzy random tones. I wasn't sure where it was from. At first I thought it was from the wind outside, then I thought it was from a possum. Then I thought it was from me hearing my own bones scraping on each other. I was creeped out by it, but continued writing in my diary nonetheless. Then I heard it again, and this time I noticed its source was coming from my left, where my radio sits. I got up and investigated what was happening. At first I thought that my radio was somehow on the on mode, and that it was set to a frequency sort of between stations so that it was emitting noise. But I looked at the part of my radio that displays what mode it is on, and the mode is on buzzer. I have never put that mode on, and didn't know what it did. I don't actually know what it is supposed to do still, but for some reason I never considered simply switching it to off. I did consider unplugging my radio, but doing so would only make it so that I'd have to reset the time that my radio displays. The picture I took of the radio is apparently too detailed even though I have an old phone. The radio in the attachment is similar to my radio. I just stood there, staring at my radio, listening to it crackle. Then its crackles slowly formed into recognizable human phonemes, and then those became semi-intelligible speech. I can remember it saying, "Toke joka semtel personification mesnes," or something of the like. I was creeped out and was paralyzed in fear. During nighttime, I am a lot more sensitive to noises and scary things. Then this semi-intelligible speech became complete, albeit somewhat ambiguous English sentences. Seen eyes of eye. Yourself thoroughly yourself. And I do not want scaredy cat. Those were the things I can remember it saying before I unplugged the radio. I winded down by listening to music and watching videos. I was trying to push that memory to the back of my mind. I didn't want to forget it, but I didn't want to sleep while thinking about it either. In the middle of the night, I woke up but couldn't move. I'm pretty sure this was an episode of sleep paralysis, but I just fell back to sleep. This is a bit embarrassing, but I woke up with my pants pissed.
I live in my own village house that belongs to my grandfather. I have loved radio tech since childhood. Build my own little radio. Listen to it. There is only one channel that I can get. It plays theater at the microphone. Just recordings of the opera for the radio. I'm like, hey, it's working anyway, so I go to the kitchen to cook some eggs while listening to some opera. Suddenly, the opera stops. There is something like Moscow speak voices over it. Citizens, air raid, citizens, air raid. Scare myself. I went to check the internet just to be sure if anything became real and happenings or not. All TV channels are calm, the internet is calm. There is obviously no nuclear war, etc. I return to the radio, it plays theater at the microphone again. Eat an omelet while reading Wiki. Theater at the microphone appears to have been off the radio since 2000. The next day I took my radio and walked with it around my house, ground that my grandfather owned in local villages, forests, noise everywhere except for the area where the house stands, and the only channel is playing that opera. So there is some kind of hidden radio tower in my territory that plays old Soviet operas and air raids 24/7. Actually, it played air raids only between 16 o'clock and 16:05 every day. Suddenly, instead of air raids, there was only Moscow speaking, and it kept saying the same number 5 for about an hour or two. 5555555, and then back to opera. It's happening every 12 days. Wrote down some numbers. 513594. Still have no idea what this is all about and where that goddamn station is located. Grandfather and Dad knew nothing about it and were concerned too when they heard the radio. WTF that could be? Why? It's a very slow method for secret information transmission.
Totally a discontinued number station. There are lots of them. Go Google. Sorry to burst your bubble.
I was 17 and sitting alone in the living room watching TV. It was about 11:30 at night. Everyone else had already gone to bed. I've always been a night owl, so it wasn't uncommon for me. I had a habit of sitting in the living room with the TV on while I played my PlayStation Portable. Nothing out of the ordinary for me. Having this habit, it wasn't unusual for me to hear or see strange things. I'd experienced plenty throughout the years. This one just stands out because I find it kind of funny. As I sat there playing my game, out of nowhere a clock radio that my mom had sitting on the fireplace mantel turned on and started skipping through radio stations. Note that this was an analog radio, meaning that you had to physically rotate the tuner to find a station. After about 3 seconds, it turns off. I even hear the click of the switch. I thought it was weird, but whatever, and went back to my game. About 6 seconds after that, it turned on again and once more started cycling through stations. This is where I find it kind of funny because I blurted out, "Would you stop?" And instantly right after I had said that, the radio switched off and didn't turn on again. And I hear what sounded like someone sitting down on the couch by the fireplace. I got the funny mental image of a ghostly person, sad and pouting, plopping down and starting twiddling their thumbs. The image made me feel bad, and I actually apologized for sounding mean. I just didn't want my dad waking up and come storming into the living room yelling at me for making noise.
Hey guys, I need your help. Essentially, I'm coming forward to figure out if anyone has experienced strange radio phenomena occurring sometime around the 5th month in the year of 2007. This happened in central Indiana, so I'm really relying on fellow Hoosiers with this, since I am certain this had to have been a local thing. I remember listening to a small, cheap battery-powered radio late one night. I was 10 at the time. The radio was so cheap that it had only 2 or 3 buttons, and you had to scan through all the stations in one direction before cycling back through. The antennae sucked too, but I don't think what I heard had to do with poor signal. Anyway, I remember it being particularly late at night, way past my bedtime. I was looking for Coast to Coast AM, but I stumbled upon something rather unsettling. As I was scanning stations, I stumbled upon what sounded odd, like music box and a synth put together. It sounded like what someone who had never heard music before, but was explained the basic idea, attempted to produce, and an elderly woman singing in a foreign language. I think it might have been Polish. What made this sound so unsettling, though, was the fact that she sounded like she was in a lot of pain, like she was being forced. There would be an occasional whimper or sob and tons of stuttering, like they were expecting to be hit. I remember being incredibly scared. I even woke my parents up about it, but when I brought the radio in to show them, it was playing a local car dealership commercial or something. I went about calling some stations recently, but none remember playing anything similar. I then figured I must have been picking up on Drive in the theater or something, so I checked the movies playing at the time and none of them matched. I've never heard it again after that night, and no one I bring this up to seems to have heard it either.
Approximately 1994, had cheap-ass walkie-talkies when I was a kid. One day I started getting chatter and someone kept calling me a butthead. It turned out my neighbor was playing with his walkie-talkie at the same time. We were in an argument with each other and the whole family was like, WTF? Then we saw our neighbor and his sister on the walkies. About 10 years later there were some news reports on the radio about some teenagers that got in trouble with the FCC because they made a radio that could intercept a Burger King drive-thru. They kept telling customers all they had was but. Neither story is related to each other. I assume your radio was just picking up frequencies based on where you were standing in your house. If you ever get to relive that day, go back to the part of your house you intercepted the random waves.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup,